Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are here because I got off my spaceship and I was like, what is going on? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you didn't read the title, so how dare. But today I want to talk about the rumors about OpenAI coming for Google Chrome and creating their own web browser, which I think ultimately is a very interesting idea, and I want to discuss the different implications of it because I think it's overall just pretty interesting from an AI standpoint, plus ethical standpoint, plus transparency. And so if you guys don't know, basically there has been this giant rival between Google, Alphabet, their whole family, and OpenAI and chatgpt, because all of these giants are trying to become the AI space, which is good that no one has fully been able to encapsulate the market. I think OpenAI definitely has the biggest encapsulation of the market right now, especially from a chat bot, like ChatGPT perspective. But with Google Chrome's power and Google's power of being able to use ads and get information from its users by having a web browser, I think it is so significant that they are able to have all of this data for all of this just massive amounts of power that they have with it. And it basically kind of seems like what was really interesting that was I didn't realize happened, and I'm surprised I didn't realize it happened because I'm in this space pretty, like, I usually know stuff is happening with AI. And there was, I wouldn't say a joke offer, but I don't think anyone was exactly taking it seriously, especially on Google's perspective, for OpenAI to buy Google Chrome, which is very interesting when it comes to, again, the amount of data that these users are collecting. Because if you consider most people, like, I would say the number one email service currently, especially in the US, is Gmail. Gmail is massive. Like, I'll just be honest here, if you have another thing besides a Gmail, it kind of looks weird. Like, I mean, if you have, like, your own, like, email extension, I don't think anyone bats an eye on that one per se. But if you have, like, Hotmail, Yahoo, maybe even an AOL, I guess. I don't know anyone still alive that has an AOL. But anyway, like, things like that where it's just, like, they have such a giant market when it comes to email, which means they have all of these accounts and all this user data that they're able to track through their Chrome web browser. And it basically sounds like OpenAI is wanting to tap into that market. And there's a bunch of stuff happening with a Google monopoly thing, kind of if they won't they thing kind of happening over in another lane. And so it's kind of basically like OpenAI is wanting to take advantage of that. And keep in mind, all these are rumors. I don't know what these companies are thinking. I'm just speculating all of this. I want to make that very clear. All of this is 100% speculation. All of this is based on rumors. And I just want to talk about what's going on. And so I saw this on the news because I was like, I'm nosy. I want to read this article because it was very interesting. And it didn't really go a lot about it, but it talks about how basically Chrome is, if you look at the entire revenue streams of Google, they are decently diversified, but a lot of it comes from ad revenue through Google Chrome. And it's Google Web Engine, as well as, I mean, you have YouTube over there, but YouTube's being YouTube. But it's, a lot of it is this ad just spigot. Basically, they can constantly have running because advertisers need to advertise. And you would constantly have money flowing in for that to be able to run up these things. And a way that I at least believe they are trying to combat the AI wars with Google. I don't think they're really super worried about Meta at the moment, but they might also be going after Meta, I don't know. But to basically be able to combat all of the data they're getting, as well as this giant ad stream coming in for revenue, they're wanting to basically create a competitor for it, so then they can, one, get more data and be able to feed their AI this data, which is truly just massive amounts of data that they'd be able to use to be able to run their ChatGPT, as well as create other revenues and stuff like that, and more diversify their portfolio. But then also, it would then allow them to be able to tap into this ad market and be able to get more money from ads, and that would supplement their money that they need to be able to build more data centers, more servers and stuff like that, so then they can constantly be earning more money. So basically they're kind of wanting to do a Google in to be able to fight them over AI, but I don't know exactly how that's going to go, because there's so many different ways this could go. And what I want to talk about now is the implications of them building this, because it'll be very interesting to see how they build it. Because the way the rumors are said is that it will, to quote the article, OpenAI's browser is designed to keep some user interactions within a ChatGPT native chat interface instead of clicking through websites. The browser is part of a broader strategy, blah, blah, blah. Basically, it is just because right now ChatGPT has a big problem. I would say it's less big than in the past, but it has a significant problem over hallucinations, especially when it comes to, I guess, like not being able to source directly from a site. Increases hallucinations and will even act like it is sourcing from a site, but this what it is citing is not even within the page. And so I don't think it says it's going to be released in a few weeks, or at least announced in the next few weeks. I don't think, as of right now, keep in mind, AI is growing exponentially. That isn't the problem. I think, at least as of right now, and I don't know when it's going to get here, but at least as of right now, the AI model is not prepared to be able to do what it is talking about. Now, if it kind of mirrors Chrome in the sense that it does a more search engine function and then has the AI at the top and allows users to keep on scrolling and just do a general search engine, I think it would be fine. But while saying that, like when you search something up on Google Chrome or Google whatever, like I'm not even on Google Chrome, but like just this is general google.com, it, unless you basically tell it not to do any AI search, it will give you a separate box that says this is AI generated. Take it with a grain of salt. And it will generate a general response to answer your question, give you some few resources to answer your question, blah, blah, blah. Similar to basically how a ChatGPT would answer you if you were to type that similar question into ChatGPT. Great. But then underneath it, it has actual like sources like normal Google where you can look at these things, and it is done by things like that, which is great. And I really hope they take Google's model into consideration when they are creating theirs. I don't want it to be exact copy, because if it's an exact copy, it is clear they're just ripping them off, and most people will just stick with Google because Google is the original one. It is the giant. People will stick with what they know. But if they do something great with it, they have to make sure they put boundaries on it to make sure they are clearly labeling that this is generated by AI. And there's becoming a blurred line now with AI and algorithms. And in essence, they are very similar in what they kind of do today as an algorithm based off of what you're wanting and based off of your past user experience will try to rank the best results for what you're wanting. So think of like YouTube, how you search something kind of random. It'll give you some of the things that you would expect to search if you did a basic clan account. But when you're signed in, it'll also add some mixes of that search plus like your normal like recommendations. So like if I was searching, I don't know, as an example, I just put kindergarten 3 over on Altaspace Deluxe, always be plugging. You have kindergarten 3, I searched for kindergarten 3, and because I normally watch Altaspace Deluxe videos, always be plugging, some other Altaspace Deluxe videos might pop up, as well as the playthrough from Altaspace Deluxe, even though it is not the highest viewed videos of the topic, because it is following my algorithm. And so I'm curious how it will look, because though ChatGPT has all of this data, and we don't know how they've gotten it, but they've gotten it. I am so curious how they are going to balance the AI elements that it has in the algorithmic elements that Google has been able to more or less master. If they haven't mastered it, they are sure as close to it. And so I'm going to be so curious how it is going to do it. And one thing they talk about in the article I read, it was like they're trying to make sure that OpenAI, ChatGPT, the bit kind of synonymous, similar to like a Alphabet and Google Chrome, even though they are technically different. So you have a lot of the different things there. Anyway, I forget where I was going with that. But where was I going with that? Oh yeah, they are trying to interweave themselves as much as they can into your lives, because the more data they can have about you in your normal lives, the more they can use it and learn more and grow exponentially faster, even more. So like instead of like I don't know, like 2 to the 2x growth, I'm making up numbers, they can now do 2 to the 3x. And if you think of those numbers, even just from a simple adding a 2, 3, 4, it grows so giantly, you have to just understand how fast these things are growing, the more and more they get into your everyday lives. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how it is able to capture those markets. Again, if this even happens, I see a world where it does, especially with them back in April technically offering to buy Google Chrome, even though I don't think they were expecting them to really take them seriously, unless it was like a, hey, agreement, hey, we'll stop doing the monopoly questions if you sell Google Chrome, which Google Chrome is like their baby. That would be the equivalent of someone asking to buy ChatGPT from OpenAI, which has been done, I believe. Though I don't remember any or details about it, or if it even happened. I'm pretty sure it did, but I don't remember at all if it even happened. But I think it'll be so interesting to see exactly what'll happen with it and what will exist, especially since I believe, if I'm not wrong, Apple and OpenAI and stuff like that have kind of an agreement where they're going to start working, not really together, but more of like a handshake little bit, where they're going to start buying together a lot of these data centers and do stuff like that. Here, let me read exactly so I'm not getting it wrong. It was within the article I was talking about. In May, OpenAI said it would enter the hardware domain, paying $6.5 billion to buy I/O and AI devices startup from Apple. Okay, so there is an agreement to where it's like, oh, we're getting into the hardware and doing stuff like that. So it is trying to expand its markets. I got that wrong. It's more of they're trying to expand their markets outside of its chatbot, which is doing more or less phenomenally, especially for what it is, and especially for how many free things you can do with it, and not really being able to gain any money from the free users, because there's no ads. It's just true, there's no ads, so it's like they can't really make any money off the free users like a Google can. I mean, they're not really making money off of their chatbot for free users, but they're still make other revenue sources make back the money that they would. But yeah, again, this is all rumors, just me talking about my opinions and throwing out my curiosities of what would happen. I do want to know your guys' thoughts about this, and I want to know kind of like what you're thinking. Would you use a browser made by OpenAI? Would you stick with Google? Or do you use a third party? Personally, I actually use especially if I don't need to be logged into a Google account, I use a lot of Edge just because it runs pretty smoothly. I know a lot of people use, what's it called? Opera GX, something like that. I've never personally have used it, but haven't heard any complaints about it. It seems like almost kind of like the opposite of what Google's trying to do. But it'll be interesting to see exactly how this goes and the overall AI race and how this will affect the AI race if it does happen. But I do want to know your thoughts down below. Let me know. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.